joke questions. It's very hard to say which are joke questions, which are, but this is a very interesting one. I have a mother-in-law, and I hate her. She is bossy, stays too long, and knows everything. She thinks I have stolen her son. Being Asian, I am powerless. What can I do? I want to kill her. Now I remember a sort of friend that even though he didn't like his mother-in-law would come to his house every year for Christmas. And after many, many years, he decided to do something different. She would come to his house every day, every Christmas day, and this time he decided to let her in. No mothers-in-law. There's lots of jokes about mother-in-law. And if you haven't heard this one, if you rearrange the letters of mother-in-law, rearrange them, and it actually spells Hitler woman. It does. Have a look at that. She's bossy, stays so long, she knows everything. But one of the nuns over here, she told this lovely story. This was like in a Vietnamese Mahayana temple. And she said her disciple had one of these mother-in-laws from hell. Again, always staying too long, always giving her a hard time. And this daughter-in-law, she really tried hard, trying to be kind. But whatever she did, never good enough. And so, she came to the temple, so she tried loving kindness meditation. May all beings be happy and well. A total waste of time. She's tried chanting. Another waste of time. She tried psychology. That didn't work. And in the end, she tried meditation. And because she was so fed up and stressed, as soon as she meditated, she fell asleep. And she had this vision of the goddess of mercy, Kuan Yin. You know Kuan Yin? And you know that the statues of Kuan Yin, just this big hairstyle with, I don't know what she's got underneath the top of her head, but it's really big hair, and just all these flowing robes and this little vessel of compassion or whatever. So what she saw in her vision was just like the ordinary Kuan Yin, which you see in the temple, except for one thing, the face. Because the face was her mother-in-law. So she had Kuan Yin's body and everything else, but the face of her mother-in-law. That really shocked her. So she realized from that vision that her mother-in-law was a manifestation of the goddess of mercy, Kuan Yin. And so the next time she saw her mother-in-law, she regarded her as Kuan Yin. And the whole attitude changed. So just changing perceptions. It's amazing. You change the perception. You see all the terrible things in your mother-in-law. You see all the things which you hate. When they're there, and it doesn't change. But you see the nice things in your mother-in-law, which takes a lot of effort. Sometimes it takes hours and hours to try and find one nice thing. But once you see the nice things in your mother-in-law, if that's what you see in her, that's what she shows you back. What you see in others is what they show you back. So try that. So don't go and kill her yet. Try some other things first of all. That's what happens when you get married to a guy or to a girl. You don't just get married to one person, you get married to their parents as well. Goodness knows who else. Can you help me out with how best to approach my time here on retreat? I'm an absolute night owl, always have been. Most nights I don't fall asleep till 1 or 2 at the earliest. I'm battling to make it for the 11 o'clock lunch, let alone breakfast. Heaven forbid the 4:30 p.m. starts as some people in my cottage are doing. I spent a good portion of the afternoon just catching up. If I went with the natural flow of my body, I'd never eat. The other day I missed your talk as I fell asleep after breakfast. You didn't miss anything. It's all recorded. So if you're a night owl, brilliant. You can get the recordings of the talk from Dan. You can listen to them at 1 o'clock in the morning. But be careful, because when you go walking around at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, there are many Asians here and they think, oh my God, there's a ghost outside. But there's no ghosts in this retreat centre. It's great coming to Australia. The reason why there's hardly any ghosts here, because not so many people have died. If you do hear a ghost, it's probably a kangaroo ghost, not a human ghost. And they're very, very nice, so don't be afraid of those things. But if you're a night owl, fine. That's why you can actually arrange your program to suit. So you can have some breakfast if you like, sort of at 7:45. If you don't eat breakfast, doesn't matter, you can just have lunch. I mean, if you go to bed 1 or 2 o'clock, you get your 7-8 hours sleep for 11 o'clock. Surely you should be able to make that. So I usually wake up 11 o'clock and then you can carry on all afternoon. And you can just really pig out on cheese and chocolate in the evening to make up for your breakfast. And also it means a lot of people are overweight. You're very lucky, because then you can lose weight as well as becoming enlightened at the same time. So yeah, if you are a night owl, fine, then just sleep late. You don't have to get up in the morning. As I told many people this morning, you could do your own chanting at sort of 6 o'clock. That's your own snoring chanting in there. So if you're a night owl, if you're a day person, doesn't matter. You just go with your natural rhythms, which is why we've arranged it this way. So you don't have to come for the morning meeting. The morning talk is recorded. You can read it all in those books which I've written. So anyway, just be natural. Ajahn, is it intended to investigate the Vedana, Chitta and Dhammanupassana mainly, or only after building a foundation with Anapanasati? Can you please speak about the functional relationship between sitting and walking practice? Okay, this is Vedana, Chitta, Dhammanupassana. Those are the second, third and fourth of the Satipatthanas. As I said already, you weren't listening. This is the 3 Satipatthanas which you fulfill by doing Anapanasati. The mindfulness of the breath is exactly the same as the 4 foundations of mindfulness. They're not different. You don't do one and then the other, or the other and then the first one. It's a complete path. So when you're doing the Anapanasati, you are doing Vedanusati, you are doing Chittanusati, you are doing Dhammanupassana. It's all the same. So isn't that wonderful? This is such an efficient way of meditation. Just one little practice fulfills everything. The whole course, all in one package, just suited for you. Nice and comfortable and easy. So just do the meditation, that's it. And it all leads to peace. As I'll be saying many, many times, the functional relationship between sitting and walking practice. The functional relationship is you can't be sitting down forever. There comes a time when you have to get up. But what you do when you get up? You walk. And you can't walk forever, so there comes a time you have to sit down. So you sit down. That's the relationship between walking and sitting. Very simple. So don't make it complicated. Diraja, what's the difference between chitta and mano? Thanks. No difference at all. Next question. It's very nice. There's no messing around. No, they're the same. Can you see your past lives after a nimitta or only after a jhana? Some people can't even see their present life, let alone past life. So come on, first stage first. Is the number of past lives someone can see determined by the stage of meditation? Do you see more past lives after the 4th jhana than after the 1st jhana? Thank you. It's first of all, yeah, you can see your past lives. Do you want to find out who you were before? You don't. If you were some son or daughter of a rich man, you could claim an inheritance. Wouldn't that be possible, do you think? If at the end of your life and you had a bit of money, instead of giving it to your kids or just waste it anyway, you can actually bequeath it to you in your next life. I'm sure that's been done already. It'd be really interesting to see how that works. That way, all your hard work, which you've done, all that money you've saved, you can actually get a good start in your next life. It's very easy. It's because of that, because we've got our Buddhist Society of West Australia. A long time ago, well, when we first started, you only had membership for 1 year. And then I think we went on for 3 years because people kept on forgetting to renew their membership. And then we decided to have life membership, so they just join once and you get so many years for free. Usually if you join as a life member in your 20s, it's a lot of money because you have a big life expectancy. But if you join in your 60s, it's much cheaper because you don't expect to live that long. But now we've got 7 life memberships. So, it's usually about 5 times the amount for a life membership, and you get an extra 2 lives for free. It's a very good deal. And I was trying to push that through our committee and say, Ajahn Brahm, that's called fraud. I thought it was a good idea myself to raise money, join for 7 lifetimes. But anyway, your past lives, if you have a strong mind, usually after a jhana or even after a nimitta stage, you may be able to have a strong enough mind to get your past lives. And it's interesting sometimes because number one, it solves a problem. Is there such a thing as reincarnation or not? And when you remember your past lives, it's obviously quite clear, yeah, you were here before. And it answers many other questions. Why you are who you are. Why many of you live in Asia and now you've come all the way to Australia. That's weird. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you've come to listen to an Angmo or a Kwai Lo monk? That's weird. Maybe we've met before. So it's all interesting stuff if you're really into it. But you just get into deep meditation first of all. And when you come out of the deep meditation, you just ask the question, what's my earliest memory? Now the interesting part of all this stuff is that it's real. And so you can have experiences, weird experiences in meditation, which answer some of the fundamental questions of life. Now, do you just live once or many times? And these are real experiences, because when you access your past lives, one of the qualities of those memories is absolute certainty that was you. You're as certain as that it's you or the person who had this lunch at lunchtime. But actually more certain than that. Your memory is very clear. That is you. And so it answers that question. And it also means that you're not afraid of dying. Next time you get close to dying, here we go again, been there, done that. So you're not afraid, you know what goes on. So it actually does solve a lot of problems in life. And also you don't get so attached to people. Yeah, there are people you love and you care for and you cherish, and they die, but you see them again in the next life. You know them from the previous life and they leave you for a while. You all tend to come back together again. So actually remembering your past lives does actually solve a lot of emotional and philosophical problems. So that's why if you do get into a deep meditation, I'll tell you how to do it, and it's a very nice thing to do. Dear Ajahn Brahm, sometimes in my meditation, to help keep me in the present, I listen to the sounds close and far, and every now and then there is silence. Doesn't that silence have a beautiful sound? Yeah, I agree with that. Silence, the sound of silence. Silence is golden. And the price of gold continues to rise. So silence is worth more than it was last year. So imagine how valuable silence is. It always goes up in price. And that's true because it's so hard to find silence these days. Because wherever you go in the world, there's always noise. You go in an elevator, there's always noise. I was on the way back from Singapore, on the way back from the United States. I was transiting in Singapore. I arrived very early, and it was brilliant. There was no sound, and I was meditating in the lounge, and about 5:15, they started the music. The music. I thought, oh, why'd you start that for? It's just so peaceful in there. But of course, a lot of times people are afraid of peace. That's why they always have to fill up the silence with this terrible sound. And I was telling a person in the interview time that when I was young in London, if I was busy working or doing stuff, I'd always try and find one of these great churches or cathedrals, because they were so quiet and you can go in there and relax and unwind. I wasn't a Christian, but I really appreciated the sanctity of silence. I remember the last time I went into one of those cathedrals, it was Westminster Abbey. I was doing some business, some work over in London, and I thought, right, I can just have half an hour, just a bit of peace and quiet. And I went into this really old, beautiful cathedral, and my heart sank, because they'd installed a PA system. And there was continual sermons or announcements, just like in an airport. And I thought, crikey, can't you leave some places silent, where you can just be without saying anything? And I also remember this man told me this story, a lovely story. He said he went to a temple in Bangkok, and as he went in, he saw there was a Thai girl sitting on one of the benches outside, just weeping, just crying. And he left her alone. He just went inside and did whatever business it was inside the temple. Half an hour later, he came out, and just the girl had almost stopped crying. He said, "Are you okay? Anything I can do to help you?" He said, No, I'm okay now. I lost the keys to my car. I can't find them. Now I feel great. Thank you very much." All she needed was a quiet place just to deal with her emotions. A lot of time you don't need someone to try and help you. You just need a place of quiet just to settle down. Which is why silence is such a great asset in our world. And it's so hard to find. We call them a building surveyor. This is the person who works in the local government which approves this building or that building to make sure it's going to stand up. And our local building surveyor, who was working in the Shire, as our local government for many years, he came to see me just to say thank you, because he said he'd been working in this job for about 8 years, and every time he got stressed out in the office, he'd just get in his car and go to the car park of our monastery and just sit there for half an hour, just to de-stress. He didn't need anybody to tell him any questions or ask how he was. He just needed a quiet place to sit. And he came to say thank you for having a car park in the monastery where anyone could come and just be quiet. And just silence is so healing and so therapeutic. So any of you who just get to that stage in the meditation, just present moment and silence, you're having a wonderful time. And it's worth coming all the way over from Europe or wherever you come from just to have that silence and enjoy it. That's why please don't disturb the silence when someone is just sitting out having a cup of coffee. Don't go up to them and have a conversation with them. You're destroying this beautiful, healing, wonderful effect of silence. And this is one thing which we're so blessed with in this area of Australia. It's silent. You go out at night and there's hardly any noise at all. It's very hard to find places like that. Dear Ajahn Emptiness, in the Metta Sutta, by not holding to false views, please explain what are false view. My view is right view, your view is false view. Well, no, that's fair enough. We have our first two rules of our monastery over the road. Do you have the same rules in Dhammasara Monastery? Rule number 1, the abbot's always right. Rule number 2, if the abbot's wrong, go back to rule number 1. That's I wish it was that way. People don't follow those rules. No, what is wrong view? It's any view which has been influenced by wanting. Because when we want, we don't see what's really there. We see what we want to see. And that is false, wrong view. An example of that old story. When boys and girls go out at night for romance, where do they go? They go to the nightclubs. They go to the candlelit dinners. Or they go for a walk by the riverside in the moonlight. Aren't those places romantic? And what do they all have in common? What they have in common is they're all dark. So you cannot see what you're falling in love with. In the moonlight, that girl in front of you looks like Scarlett Johansson. In the moonlight, that old guy you're having dinner with looks like Justin Bieber. Even though he's in his 50s. Why is that? Because it's dark. Your delusion can play with the image and can make it what you want to see rather than what's really there. No one ever falls in love in the middle of the day. It's true. So, these are false views because you're not seeing clearly, you're seeing what you want to see. And you're blocking out what you don't like seeing. In particular, is the definition of the Four Noble Truths, what suffering is. Suffering is asking from the world something it can never give you. Asking from the world what it can never give you. That's called suffering. And it's stupid. Why do you do that? Because we think this world can give us so much. We think that a husband can make us happy ever after. We think that a wife can just be there for us, to entertain us, and when we don't want her to shut up because we want to watch the football on TV, we want her to always make nice meals for us and to be entertaining. Somebody once said, if you want someone who wants to entertain you, but always be quiet when you want to be quiet, always be funny, and always be there for you whenever you need her, then you should marry a TV set. Because that satisfies all your requirements. Always entertaining, you can turn it off whenever you want. Always fun. But real people, this is just how people are. But when we want them to be different, that's called false view. Expecting a husband to be just so nice and so sensitive and understanding, that's called false view. Husbands are husbands, just like everybody else's husband. Don't think you've got a special one. They're all the same. Thinking that girls are always nice and soft and sexy and charming. No, they're not always like that. They're all the same. So sometimes wrong view is asking from a wife or a husband what they'll never give you. Asking from your children what they will never give you. My child, I always want him to become, so at least in the top half, to go to university, to do well. Look, half of your children will be below average intelligence. That's an obvious thing, isn't it? Half of the kids won't do well at school. They can't. It's impossible. But we don't want those to be my children. Other people's children, okay, but my children have to be above average intelligence. No wonder you give your kids such a hard time. So, look, if your kid, or if you ever have a kid who's below average intelligence, this is a great story. There was this kid in Thailand many, many years ago. he went to school, grade 1. After 12 months or 9 months, however long it was, in grade 1, he was so dumb that the teacher couldn't pass him and had to repeat grade 1 again. Imagine that. You can see that, grade 10 or 11 repeating that. But have you ever heard of a kid having to repeat grade 1? This kid did. Having repeated grade 1 for second year. Well, all his friends went up to grade 2. After the second year, the teacher, even with the best will in the world, couldn't promote him to grade 2. He had to repeat grade 1 again, the third year. I'm not quite sure what he failed. Crayon drawing, I don't know what. But he failed it again. And after 3 years trying to pass grade 1, no, he was that stupid. So they just threw him out of school. Now that's really dumb. Now the people in the village realized if he was that stupid, that means it's a waste of time trying to even let him look after the water buffalo. So what can they do to someone that dumb? There was an obvious choice: send him to the monastery to become a novice. Now, not all monks start out like that. So they sent him to the monastery, and the abbot there was just so patient and compassionate, really tried to teach him all the chanting. Now, Namo Tassa. Now, what's that second word again? Namo Tassa. Oh yeah, Tassa. What was the first word? And he was just so hard to learn anything. And after about 2 or 3 years in the monastery in the village, the abbot was just so fed up with him. Couldn't teach him anything. So the last resort, they sent him to the forest monastery, just like the monastery over the road, Bodhinyana. Now please, not all the monks are like that. So they sent him there, but because he had such a simple mind, the teacher taught him how to do breath meditation. Just watch your breath go in, watch your breath go out. His mind was so simple and clear, it was easy to do. And he got into some really deep meditations almost straight away. And he became a famous meditation teacher in Thailand. Brilliant. Because his mind was just so easy and so clear and didn't think so much. Oh, you guys think too much, don't you? Sometimes you look on a kid like that and think, oh, I wish I was like that. So if you've got a kid like that, the kid keeps failing school, doesn't pass primary school, you know where to send him. Bodhinyana Monastery. He could be the next Arahat, the next enlightened being. So everybody's got their place. You don't have to be the smart person. So sometimes false views is asking people to be someone they're not. Asking your kids to be intelligent. Well, it's not. It doesn't have to be. You can still be a great person. Or asking yourself to be something you're not. Asking from life what it can't give you. Asking Ajahn Brahm to stop telling bad jokes. It's just, I can't stop it. Don't be forced view expecting that. So right view is getting real. Understanding what life can give you, what it can't. Understanding who you are and who you're not. And then making peace with life. How are we to know the fetter of Sakaya Ditti has been forever cut off, and what actually occurs during Maggapada? Much thanks, your faithful loser. Sakaya Ditti is self-view. Who do you think you are? And when you see the Dhamma, you find out who you thought you were is not you after all. That is just packaging. So just like you get a present, and you take off the packaging, and you unpack the box, and you find there's more packaging inside, and you keep unpacking what's inside, and you find when you get to the very center, you find what's actually in there. And you know what you find? I'm not telling you. You find out for yourself. But you already know there's nothing there. Empty. Vacant. Just like a big hole in the center of you. That's why we call this the holy life. There's nothing there in the middle. Okay, terrible, but I can't stop myself. What actually occurs during the Magga, that's just the experience of these states. So it's just like an explosion goes off. And all of the ways you've looked at things before, you don't look at them again. You have changed. Ajahn, what's your view on people getting enlightened through means other than meditation? Exactly. Art, yoga, service work, chanting, etc. There's only one way to become enlightened, and that is the Eightfold Path. The Buddha was very wise and compassionate. And if there was another way, if all those 8 factors were not necessary, he would have given you a 7-fold path. Unfortunately, this is the minimum, the 8-fold path. So you can add art, you can add work, you can add chanting, whatever, but make sure the 8 factors are there. One of them is meditation, or rather stillness. So if you want to get enlightened, that's what you have to do. You can do art, you can go painting stuff, you can do yoga, stretching stuff, you can do service work, like washing the dishes, you can do chanting, but you have to do meditation as well. If you have no stillness, you will not get enlightened. Why is it that when I come out from the meditation hall in the evening and I'm feeling calm and peaceful, that I still have strong fear of the pitch black forest? Dania, is it time for a ghost story? Yeah, come on. Turn off the lights. Yes. This is a true story. Some of the stories are jokes, but this is a true one. One of my disciples here in Perth, she has her own IT company. And she's actually Burmese. And so being Burmese, being Asian, she's terrified of ghosts. So when she was asked to do a contract to upgrade the IT system in Karakata Cemetery, which is the main burial ground in the city of Perth, she didn't want to take it. But it was such a good contract, she'd make a lot of money. She thought, okay, I will take it on one condition. And the condition was that she'd always come to work after everybody else had arrived in the office. And she would always leave before everybody else left. So she'd never be left alone in the office in the middle of the cemetery. And everything was going well. She was doing her work. She'd always get there maybe 9:30, always leave about 3:30. She was very efficient, always make sure she was never left alone in this spooky cemetery. Until the very last day. She was almost finished, just needed to complete the report, and then she was done. And it was a Friday afternoon. And the last person wanted to leave, and she only had maybe half an hour more work to do, and she'd complete the whole job. Should she stay? Should she go home early and come again on Monday morning? She thought, what the heck? Only half an hour. I'll be okay in the office, in the middle of the cemetery, all by myself. She decided to stay. That was a big mistake. She finished all the input onto the computer. No one was there. It was very still. because it's right in the middle of the cemetery. Just the sound of the wind in the trees, blowing the trees backwards and forwards. Maybe the sound of the owls. Ooh. Everything was quiet. And then, only a few minutes left to go, she pressed the print button, as you do. And then she went to the printer to get the final report, maybe 60 or 70 pages. And she was checking them through. Everything was right until it wasn't one of her pages. Right in the middle of her report, out came from the printer this image of a gravestone. She never put that input in. And there in front of her, a picture of a gravestone. That was it. She screamed, ran to her car, got in her vehicle, and she didn't stop till she got to the south of Perth, over the river, because it's well known that ghosts can't cross flowing water. Now she was safe. And it's true, when she went to work on a Monday morning, people asked, what do you do that for? You left the whole place unlocked, and you left it a mess. You know, your stuff is all over the place. And then she told the story, I had to leave because I never put this in the printer, and it just came out, and it was a gravestone. It freaked me out. And they said, yes, that often happens there. Sometimes they lock everything up on the weekend. They make it all clean. And when they open it up again on a Monday morning, everything is scattered all over the place. On the weekend, the ghosts, especially Saturday night, have a party in the office of Karrakatta Cemetery here in Perth. Believe it, you may not, but that is a true story. Be careful if ever you work in the office of Karrakatta Cemetery. Okay, lights please. That's true. Didn't make up any of that. That happens. But all the ghosts can do is scare you. They can't hurt you, so don't worry. So yeah, it's pitch black. It's not even pitch black here. You can see lights on all over the place. If it's really pitch black, go over to Bodhinyana Monastery. There's nothing there at all. No lights. It really is dark. But nothing will ever... I've been in here for how many years have I been in here? Over 30 years. And I've no ghosts come here. You know why? Because ghosts are scared of monks. They are. They're terrified of monks. That is absolutely true. So if you ever see a ghost here, you just mention my name. And a ghost says, ah! No, please, please, please don't tell Ajahn Brahm. Please don't. If you don't behave, ghost, I will tell Ajahn Brahm, and then they'll leave you alone. So anyway, it is as though some wild creature is going to run out and eat me. Oh, come on. The only wild creatures here are kangaroos. You think a kangaroo is going to eat you? No, kangaroos are vegetarian, they only eat grass. They're not going to eat you. How can I overcome this fear? I tried being kind and gentle towards the fear, and that didn't seem to work. It's only in darkness I have this fear. Are you afraid of the dark? Of course I'm not afraid of the dark, because in the dark the ghost can't see me. So you're perfectly safe. You can hide in the dark. No, you're totally safe in this place. Don't be afraid at all. How true is Feng Shui and palmistry? Feng Shui works. One of my friends, he said it's true. He said he had trouble with his marriage, so he got a Feng Shui master. And the Feng Shui master, when his wife was out, came to his house, your furniture is in the wrong position. That's the reason why you're having trouble with your marriage. So he rearranged his furniture, and he told me it worked. When his wife was out shopping, he put all the furniture against the door. Now he has no trouble. that's the only feng shui I know. If karma is a driving factor, why there are good, is a driving factor or is a doing factor, I don't know. It's a fact, why is there good and bad karma? Or they are exist on both sides of the coin. It is our perception which differentiates the two, bad and good. Please explain. Thank you with metta. Now look, karma is just the results of your action. You've got a whole heap of bad karma. Every one of you has got a mountain of bad karma, but you've also got another mountain of good karma. Because everything you do, if it's a nice, kind act, you just get paid with interest. They say if you just give one kind act, you get 1,000 kindnesses back. Well, one bad act, selfish act, you get 1,000 bad things back in return. It's not just one, it's multiplied. So how many kind acts have you done? You've got a whole mountain of good karma. You've also got a huge account of bad karma as well. An interesting thing, which one are you going to use? If you're negative, you just log into the bad karma account, and more bad karma comes to you. Absolutely stupid. If you're positive, you're happy, you're kind, then you just tap into your good karma account, and nice things happen to you. And if you learn how to let go, you can actually just let go of all your bad karma. It's as easy as that. Like easy as pressing a delete button. But can you do that? No, because you don't think you should. It's called guilt. If you know how to let go, what you learn here, you can just totally cut yourself off from the bad karma and just keep the good stuff. Isn't that good fun? You can do that. It's called a hosi karma. Karma that was. You just let it go. And you can just tap into all your good karma. You've got lots of it. How do you tap into your good karma? When you start meditating, just think of all the good things you've done in the past, all the generosity which you've done, all the precepts you've kept, the meditation, the compassionate acts you've done in the past. Just remember them. And straight away, you're keying in to the store of good karma you've done. You feel really good. Every time I remembered, look, I'm just remembering a donation I gave as a student. Some nun came along and gave a talk about an orphanage over in Kalimpong in the Sikkim in the north of India. And I was inspired enough to get £20 out of my bank account the following day and send it off to her. Well, that was about 2 weeks' food money for me. As a student, I was really poor. My father was dead. My mother only had a very simple job. And that was 2 weeks' food money. I never starved, but I went hungry. And to this day, that was one of the best donations I've ever given. I just get happiness from that so many times. Why? Because I keep thinking about that, remembering that. I think, wow, what a beautiful thing that was you did. And I get happiness and more happiness. A great store of happiness from that. And all the stupid things I did in my past, I'll let go of those. I don't think about those. Let them go. I just wrote them on a piece of toilet paper and put them in the toilet bowl a long time ago. They're all gone. Just keep the good stuff. Then you know how to always collect the eggs and not the shit in that story. Your eminent emptiness. Are you considering a pilgrimage to Sri Lanka, Thailand or Burma, or all three? If not, would you please? Nah. All I do, I have a pilgrimage to Bodhinyana Monastery every afternoon and come back again. I'm getting old. And go to all these places. If you really, what do you want to go to Sri Lanka for anyway? What do you want to go to Burma or Thailand for? What do you want to go to China for and see the Great Wall? You just go to Bodhinyana Monastery, it's the Great Wall over there. If you want to see Niagara Falls, just go in the shower and turn the water on. It's just the same, it's just water coming down, that's all it is. If you want to see the Amazon rainforest, there's a forest over here. Why do you want to go all these places to see this and that? So no, I don't go to pilgrimage anymore. Dear Ajahn, apart from doing daily meditation, what's the best piece of Buddhist advice you can give to two people in a relationship for harmonious union? If in a harmonious union, remember the most important thing. I did this recently because I was doing a wedding on Saturday afternoon. Number one, remember that when you are going out together, even when you're engaged, you are only involved. When you're married, you're committed. So I tell them the difference between being involved and being committed is the same as the difference between bacon and eggs. In bacon and eggs, the chicken is only involved, but the pig is committed. Come on, think about it. The chicken gives one egg, that's all. The pig gives its whole body. It's dead. That's called commitment. So if you're... So if you're going to get married, you have to give your whole life, not just part of it. Total commitment. Give everything, 100%, like a pig gives for bacon. Chicken only gives an egg and walks away afterwards. That's not much of commitment. So you give everything, 100%. Number two, in a marriage. In a marriage, obviously, you must never think of yourself. And in a marriage, do not think of your partner either. I love doing this. I did this last Saturday. You look at the bride, this nice young girl, all dressed up, and say to her, from now on, you're a married woman. You must not think of yourself. She said, yes. I won't think of myself. Then I look at the groom, say the same to him. From this time on, you must not think of yourself. And the man almost always hesitates first. Well, they do. And then they say, okay, I won't think of myself. And then, still looking at the man, I say, from this moment on, you must not think of her, your wife. I love this because they get really confused. And I look at the wife and say, from this moment on, you mustn't think of him, your husband. Don't think of him anymore. And then they're waiting. What does this mean? There must be something important here. And there is. It's the secret of a happy relationship. So from this moment on, you must never think of yourself, nor must you think of your partner. From this moment on, you must only think of us, which is totally different. It's not thinking about yourself, it's not thinking about your partner, it's thinking of us. You're both involved. When you understand that, you understand the secret of a relationship. It's never about her, or him, or me. It's about us. So if there's a problem, whose problem is it? Our problem. In a relationship, how many times you say it's his problem? Gee, men are always like that. Or you think, her problem, gee, why did I go out with this girl? Or a lot of times I think it's my problem. You're all wrong, you never find a solution that way. So it's always our problem. That's the secret of a happy marriage. You see, I know all about this because I've been celibate for the last 40 years. Dear Ajahn, sometimes when somebody's about to die, she said that his father, mother who has died earlier has come and asked that person to come home. It happens a lot of times. Many people confirm on that stories as some of their relations experience that before they die. Is it possible? Are they really meeting up with their past relations? Who was born again as devas or as ghosts, or is it only a hallucination? You know, sometimes that really gives people the creeps because they had a bad relationship with their father, they thought he died and got rid of him, and they come again when you're about dying. Son, I've come to see you. Oh no, I thought I got rid of you a long time ago. But what about if you have a stepfather or a stepmother? Because it's very complicated, especially in places like Australia now. There's one of, he's actually disrobed now, but he had 3 mothers and 3 fathers. Because when he was born, his biological parents, couldn't look after him, so he was adopted. And so the parents he grew up with, he thought they were his parents, but then they divorced. So his father got a new wife, and his mother got a new husband, and then he found out he had biological parents as well. So he had 3 dads and 3 mums. Really complicated. And it gets even more complicated than that from some other people. So actually, which dad or which mum come to see you? Your biological ones? Is it your stepfather, or who is it? Life is very complicated these days. But anyhow, Yes, sometimes it does happen, and sometimes, sometimes that when you really need somebody, if your father or mother has been born in the Deva realm, they just come and make sure you're okay. And especially when you're about to die, this is serious stuff, your mind starts to separate from the brain, so you can actually start to see some of these visions. In very much the same way, when you're meditating, your mind gets separated from the other 5 senses and can actually start to see things. It's just, sometimes when the mind depends upon the brain and the body, it sometimes gets constricted, but when it's free from those things, then maybe you can see these, your mum and dad and other visions. So usually happens at that time when the mind becomes free from the brain. Does practicing yoga help in meditation? Of course it does. You can sit long, you're sort of nice and loose, no problem at all. How to justify that seeking for the bliss in meditation is not a sort of another attachment? You justify that because the Buddha said, yes, it is an attachment, but one of the attachments which leads to Nibbana. Are attachments good? Of course they are, in the right time and the right place. If you are on the back of a motorcycle, please be attached. It's obvious. Sometimes we think we should not be attached to anything. So if you're wearing trousers or a skirt, please be attached to them. Don't let it go before you get back to your room. If you've got false teeth or you've got sort of, a wig on, be attached to it, because it's very embarrassing. I remember one of my friends who was a monk, he said when he was young, he went to a dance and he saw this really nice girl, beautiful girl, had a dance with her, and when she was dancing, I think he sort of stroked her hair and it fell off. She was bald, wearing a wig. That was really embarrassing. Poor girl. That was the end of their relationship, by the way. So there are some things worth being attached to. And if you're attached to the pleasure of meditation, it takes you to enlightenment. That's Pasadika Sutta of the Digha Nikaya. If you're attached to the pleasure of meditation, you can only expect to be a stream winner, once return and non-return, or full enlightenment. It's the attachment which leads out of rebirth. Dear Your Emptiness, I would like to ask a question. It is said that being born as a human is really, really difficult, and you made it. Well done. Woohoo. However, the human population keeps raising up. How is that possible? And one more, which one is less possible, being born as a human being or born as a deva? The reason why the population of this human world is increasing and the population of the animals is decreasing is obvious. Many, many people are being reborn as animals. Sorry, being reborn from animals. So they're animals before, now they're human beings. And that explains a lot about the behavior of youth. It's obvious, they were monkeys before. You call them little monkeys, and actually you are quite correct. Sometimes there were snakes before, that's why they always like sleeping a lot. You can't get them up in the morning. They're horizontal beings. So these days it's very easy to get reborn as a human because there's many, many vacancies. In the old days, only a few human beings, and it's very tough to get sort of a job. Like, how hard was it to get in university? Like when I was young, there's just only a few universities. Now there's hundreds of universities. And so many people can go to college. There's more vacancies. So just like the human realm now, there's so many vacancies, and of course the animal realm is decreasing, so many human beings have come from the animal realm. I am fascinated and absolutely delighted to know that the brain can in fact change. Could you please share your knowledge on what meditation can do for the body, especially for those who do it just a little a day? If you just do it a little a day, your brain just changes a little a day, not that much. So you're just basically the same as you were before. What a waste of time. In fact, as you use your brain more and more, of course it's going to wear out. Just like a car, imagine you've got a car and you keep driving it sort of a full pelt, it doesn't last that long. So if you keep stressing out your brain, making it work so hard day after day after day, your brain doesn't have a warranty like the car does. So it's going to wear out and it's going to blow a few fuses. So please slow down and relax and rest. And that way you can get much more out of your brain. So look after your brain. It's a limited resource. Don't use it unless you have to. Park it in, like your car, park it in the garage and don't let your kids make use of it. So you park your brain in samadhi, in stillness. And then you can use it for a long time, just like a car spending most of the time in the garage. What is the difference between thinking and thought? Thinking is what you're doing, thought is what you've just done. Just time. Be mindful and aware, which comes first? They're both the same, so they come together. Dear Bhante, why did the Buddha enter Parinibbana from the fourth jhana instead of cessation? Likewise, the fourth jhana, not cessation, was the basis for his enlightenment. Would not cessation have been more profound? I don't know. No, come on. Why are you so sort of quick? Get into the fourth jhana first of all, and then get enlightened, and then maybe you'll know. I don't know why people ask all these silly questions. Isn't it? No, it's not really silly questions. Sometimes we're interested, but what's that got to do with making peace inside your head? And sometimes we think, rather than actually grounding in reality. How can we become peaceful? So actually, why that happens, the fourth jhana, is because it's perfectly still, but the mind is still there. So you can actually let go of the mind and allow it almost consciously just to vanish. In the arupas, it's just too not there. You're not really quite clear what's going on. Do you understand that? Of course you don't. So it's stupid to ask you the question in the first place. You mentioned this morning that meditation is completely safe. Yes, I heard that when one is in a deep and powerful meditation, it is easy to go the wrong way and be attracted to bad energy. Of course not. People say such things just to scare you. Just like people mentioned when I was young, the devil makes work for idle hands, which meant I had to work really, really hard. And when I stopped doing work, the devil never made any work for me at all. That was just a myth to scare you. It's not true. What is dangerous, and I have to warn you about this, what is dangerous is not meditating. That's where you go the wrong way and get attracted to bad energy. But when you meditate, you're perfectly safe, you'll get very strong and powerful, and bad things just can't happen to you. So when you get deep, powerful meditation, it is easy to go the wrong way and be attracted to bad energy. Absolutely not. That is false teachings. Don't believe in that. Take it from me, that is wrong. The things are waiting to take you to the wrong path once you have the power of deep meditation. Oh, crikey, no. They're waiting to take you in the wrong path when you don't meditate. They wait to take you to the casino. They wait to take you to the pub, the bar, and all sorts of other places of ill repute. How many people meditate in the casino or in the bar? I never see people cross-legged in the bar. So no, the deep meditation keeps you out of such places. It's like being arrogant and one who's got the power of meditation. No. It is, when you meditate, you're perfectly safe. I guarantee it. Money back guarantee. You can ask for your money back if I'm wrong. You can ask. You won't get, but you can always ask. Dear Empties, would you have a comment about panic or anxiety attacks? They come on at unexpected times. I'm not worrying. I can be doing something I'm enjoying. Very good. Panic attacks. Look, one thing with panic attacks, that story of the anger-eating demon, once you start to get angry and you get afraid, get out of here, I don't want to be angry, anxious, you feed it negativity, in just the same way with this, where is it going? If I put this further forward, I think I can get some feedback. No, I'm not getting feedback now. But you know what I mean. Once you put this close to one of the speakers, no, it's not working. Just my luck. Just when you get feedback, it gets more and more and more until it really, really gets this terrible sound, piercing. Now that's like panic attack. It's a feedback mechanism. You start to feel fear, and you're afraid of the fear. You try to stop it, it gets worse and worse and worse. It builds up that way. So one good way, when you start to feel afraid, oh, wonderful, the door of my heart is open to being afraid. It's wonderful to have panic. What's wrong with being panicked? When you accept it, you open the door of your heart to it, you don't fight it, you don't cringe up against it, you just let it be. You undermine it. It's not there anymore. It stops. That's one way. There's another way, I'll tell you about that later on. Seriously, the food is ridiculous here. What does that mean, ridiculous? It's funny food? Do you actually, put all of the banana and the strawberries like in a funny smiley face? It must mean it's ridiculously good. I hope so, because Bianca's in the back listening to this. If it's a complaint, she's not going to come here tomorrow to feed us. Thank you so much to those beautiful ladies who cook it. Exactly. Dear Ajahn, you spoke of picking noses. Why can't Eskimos pick their noses? This must be a joke. I haven't heard this one before. Why can't Eskimos pick their noses? Because they have to be happy with the ones they are born with, like the rest of us. Why can't they pick their noses? Because they have to be happy with the ones they're given. That's not bad. You heard of the two Eskimos in the kayak? And it was so cold in the kayak as they were paddling down the river, they decided to gather some wood and put a fire to warm themselves up. And of course, stupid Eskimos, the fire burnt a hole in the kayak and they both drowned. Which just goes to show you can't have your kayak and heat it. Some of you got that joke. They always say you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have your kayak and heat it. Okay, very good. That's my Eskimo joke. So if you give me a joke, you get one back. That's called karma. Unlike in Western countries, the Buddhas in Asia, the Buddhist way in Asia, mainly the Chinese people in Asian countries, are often regarded as similar to their ancestors' tradition, and thus most people, mainly the so-called modern Christians, or even worse, the Buddhists themselves, are all stereotyped to think that Buddhism is a very superstitious religion. There are many weird beliefs being forced by these Buddhist parents onto their children, such as, do not lift your head up when a deceased family member is being put in a coffin, or it'll be bad luck. Do not be a bridesmaid for the second time, or you'll be miserable in finding a husband, etc. So when we mention such ridiculous things to others, they'll say, so you're still a Buddhist? Most Asian Buddhists are proud of it. Most other people are laughing at it. While we all know that's not Buddhism at all, but are more silly traditions carried out due to certain reasons in the past. How can we deal with this? What to say? My goodness, look, I was a Christian before, and that is the most superstitious religion of all. To think that you can just believe in a guy who was executed on a cross. I often say that Easter Day is execution day instead of Easter Day. That's really superstition more than anything else. Thinking that you can believe in this and go to heaven. You have these wafers and wine, and you think that's the blood of Christ and the body. That's not the body. You do a DNA test on the wafer. There's no human DNA on there at all. It hasn't been transformed. That's total superstition. There's so many superstitions in this place, in other religions. But Christianity is just like, the person in the glass house throwing stones. But it is true, Buddhism is not superstitious at all. But the culture which is added on to Buddhism, that is superstitious. That is why that part of my job is to destroy those superstitions. Do you not lift your head up when a deceased family member was being put in a coffin, or be bad luck? Lift your head up and prove them wrong. I remember just one person who tried that. The family member was being put in a coffin, so they had their head down, they got hit by a car. They weren't looking. Don't be a bridesmaid for the second time, or be miserable in finding a husband. You might be happy not finding one. And they say, so you're still a Buddhist? And say, yes, I'm still. and a Buddhist. You're peaceful and kind. So look, how many superstitions do you hear here? This is real Buddhism. So we don't have superstitions in Buddhism. Look, part of the job is finding out where these superstitions come from. Have you been to the Chinese temples and seen people shaking the incense like this? You know where that comes from? I figured that out a couple of years ago, where that comes from, because it is tradition in Asian countries for your grandmother to take you to the temple for the first time. So your grandmother takes you when you're a kid. You can remember that. They take you to the temple when you're a young kid. And they take you to the temple. They go and put some incense. The reason they do this is because they've got Parkinson's. They can't help it. And you see your mother doing this, and you think, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. So the kids do this. They haven't got Parkinson's. Your mother has. That's where that superstition comes from. You don't have to do that. Just bung it in the incense pot and leave it alone. Why do you bow? The reason why you bow is because it keeps you in good health. You actually exercise your tummy muscles. So a lot of these superstitions which we have, again, part of modern Buddhism is actually to strip those superstitions out and get the real thing, which is meditation, keeping your precepts, being good people, being compassionate. My goodness, that works. That is why Buddhism is taking off in the Western world. If I have children, I would like to teach them meditation. How can I do this in a subtle, natural, and enjoyable manner? And what is the youngest age I can start them on this? My feeling is that I would be much better at meditation now as an adult if I had gentle guidance as a toddler. Please tell us your experience teaching children. The best time to teach children is when they're still in your womb. Meditate while you're pregnant. Because that time the mother's got a great connection with the kid. And if you get very peaceful while you're meditating, the kid will learn from in the womb how to meditate. And there's many weird stories. This actually happened. One of the people here, some years ago, they told me they'd just given birth to their kid. They were still in hospital, hadn't sort of come out yet. And they'd just finished breastfeeding their kid. And they were just lying in the bed on the back, finished breastfeeding their child, and the child just crawled to the belly, crossed its legs in full lotus, put one hand over the other, and started meditating. Freaked the mother out. So she told me, what happened? I said, no, that's obviously meditated before. You know what it's like, have a nice something to eat. You feel, okay, I feel really good now, and meditate. So this baby, just 1 or 2 days old, or hours old, I'm not quite sure how long, meditated on his mother's tummy. Brilliant. So sometimes you can do that by you meditating. The other way of teaching kids learn from osmosis by imitation. So if mother meditates, the kid will sometimes follow. Not just the kid, but also the dog will as well. Have you ever meditated there sitting there and the dog just sits next to you? So quiet, so peaceful. It gets off on your energy. But you have to be able to meditate first of all. If you're sitting there thinking about so many things, that's what you're going to teach your kid. And your kid will always be restless. So you get your act together first of all, and then you can get your kid. And most of the time it's through imitation. Don't try and teach the kid, because the kid doesn't have that intellectual ability to understand through words. Imitation, yes. Can we read during the retreat? How about Dharma talks on YouTube, yoga, etc.? You can read your own heart. You can see the videos which come up when you get to the Nimitta stage. Or not YouTube, on Jhana tube. And what's the other one? And yoga. Yeah, you can do some yoga if you wish. A little bit of stretching doesn't do any harm at all. Dear Ajahn, a staunch Muslim lady once told me to remove my tattoo. She told me in the Quran it is believed that all those with tattoos will go to hell. It bothers me because it doesn't make sense to me if one has been good all her life and have tattoos should go to hell. Why do you believe such rubbish? That sometimes people are so gullible. Whatever people say, you believe. Now look, you will not go to hell if you have a tattoo. You got your tattoo there, Analia? Can we see your tattoo? You see it you've got a couple of tattoos there. Oh, you're going to go to hell. Bad. None. Got quite a few monks have got tattoos. Well, Ajahn Chah had tattoos. So now listen, that is myth. Don't believe it. Just because it says that, I don't know if it says that in a book. I didn't know they had tattoos in the time of Muhammad, did they? I doubt it. This is probably something added afterwards. But people have all these myths, and gullible people believe this out of fear. Does it make sense to you? No, it doesn't, therefore it can't be right. So it is true. You're more liable to go to hell if you go blowing up people than if you have a tattoo. You know that story that these days in heaven, in the old days, a Muslim told me this, in the old days, heaven was a wonderful place. It was safe, secure, you can have a good time. These days, heaven is just so uncertain. There's so many suicide bombers up there, you never know when you're going to step on another bomb. The Muslim said that. No, of course, suicide bombers don't go to heaven. They kill people, that's bad karma. Good people go to heaven. And that's obvious. So please, use your common sense. You can have as many tattoos as you like, and I guarantee you will not go to heaven. Not go to hell. I saw some person has added to the things that need doing on the notice board in the dining room. They've added things. Their white car was dirty and needed a wash. Out of a feeling of compassion for this person, I took a bucket of soapy water and a bucket of rinse water and found the little dirty white car in the car park and gave it a thorough clean. It sparkled. But I don't think the person will know I did this because a little bit later I saw them get into this car and drive away. That was one of the builders who just came here to do some building work today. So thank you very much. I think what a wonderful place. You come here and you do a bit of building work and you get your car washed for free. Very good. It's nice, good karma though, because you did a nice, good act. So it's wonderful. What do you think of fortune telling, palm reading, feng shui, or any other Chinese calculations of fate in one's life? They could be quite accurate sometimes. Do such readings have any relation with karma in the past? The future is uncertain. You can't read people's future from their palms. Or you can't... I remember going to Hong Kong last year, and they took me down this street where all the fortune tellers are. And these are very famous fortune tellers. And I looked at all of them. They were all wearing ordinary clothes. I never saw any designer clothes. I looked at their cars. They were just ordinary cars. There was no Rolls Royces or Mercedes Benz. If these people can't read their own fortunes, how the heck do you think they can read yours? Never trust a poor fortune teller. If they're not rich and healthy, they can't tell their own fortune. How do you think they can tell yours? Would you go and see a doctor who is coughing and sick? If they can't look after their own health, how can they look after yours? Would you go to a meditation teacher who can't meditate? Obviously, you've got to know what you're talking about, first of all. So all this fortune telling, palm reading, feng shui, and other such stuff is for gullible people. Are you going to be gullible? You make your own fortune. No one else can tell you what it's going to be. That's the law of karma. The future is in your hands. It's not preordained. You can do whatever you want. With effort, skill, mindfulness, you can make a good life. Fortunately, if they gave a money-back guarantee, that would be something. But do they give a money-back guarantee? It's just fraud. So please don't be so gullible. But I will tell you your fortune. I will predict the future. Tomorrow the sun will come up. Tomorrow breakfast will be at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow there will be another talk at 8 o'clock. I predict that future. Isn't that amazing? That's the only future I'm predicting. So there we go, a lot of questions this evening. And that's all we've got time for tonight. So, thank you all for listening. And you can do some yoga now by stretching out on your bed. Oh, that feels nice. You can do